Hi, everybody. My name is Sultana Nosrati, and today we're going to be talking about sex. Now, before we begin, even though I am a licensed clinical social worker, this represents my opinion and my experience. I by no means am exclusive in my knowledge, nor do I represent all other social workers, just myself. So let's talk about sex or about what we don't talk about when it comes to sex and intimacy, particularly in relationships. So, a lot of folks tell me that they struggle to talk about things regarding sex because it's too embarrassing. Oftentimes, we talk about sex in general terms, like, I'm not satisfied, or he's just not doing it for me, right? Well, I wonder why, right? When you're looking at movies, you just see these sexy, steamy scenes and no one seems to be having any problems getting off. Or you're looking at porn when there's a whole lot of getting off, but let's face it, half that stuff you're not willing to do. Nor is it all that really fun in real life. So the reality of sex is a little bit more complicated. But what I can say to you is if sex life isn't really what you want it to be, get specific and forget embarrassment. See, if you're in a relationship, chances are, hopefully, you trust each other. And that's an important part of having an excellent sex life, trust. And with trust comes the ability to be a little bit more vulnerable, which is a little tricky. But if you're willing to let your guard down and be very specific about what it is you need or want in the bedroom, chances are it will improve. Now, there's different reasons why people don't talk about sex. More often than not, what ends up happening is you may have had a really good sex life and things have changed. You've had kids, you got older, something's different. And so you don't really know how to broach the topic. Well, you're not alone. A lot of people have a hard time stepping up to their partner and saying, so when it comes to sex, we're having an issue. And when they do, sometimes it comes out real aggressive, and guess what you're getting? A whole lot of defensiveness, and you don't seem to get anywhere, and you're wondering why. Well, it's important to have good communication. So when you're talking about sex, you say things like, I'm struggling, or I would like it if you, and be specific. Staying silent in a sexual relationship is not a good idea because usually what develops right after that is a whole lot of resentment, anger, dissatisfaction, and you guessed it, the relationship is going nowhere fast. The other thing I hear a lot is, why should I have to tell him? Why should I have to tell her? Shouldn't she already know what to do? No. I'll use myself as an example. I am a daughter of immigrant parents, and I remember coming up to my mother in my 20s and asking her, Mom, how come you never talk to me about sex? And her response was, Really? Why? I figured you already knew what you needed to know. You probably know more than me. The truth is, my education sexually up until that point came from reading romance novels where the most exclusive thing they said was, he entered her. Not very informative. So it's important that you are informative when you're talking to your partner. Well, how do you get informative? How do you know what to say? Well, explore your own body. See what does it for you. See what turns you on. And then share that with your partner. Now, sometimes it's not enough, and that's okay. Sometimes it's not enough. That's when you want to start bringing in toys or game playing, and I know what you're thinking. I don't know if I want to use toys. Well, toys aren't only for your exclusive benefit. Sometimes they can really spice up a relationship, so I highly recommend them. There's stores, online, all kinds of places where you can go and find out whether or not toys and which toys are the best for you and your partner to use together. There's no room for embarrassment in a relationship that's healthy. The other thing you can do is make directions in sexual play fun or commanding, depending on what turns you on. It's all okay. One of the things I really want to stress to you is that everything is kosher. It's all good. As long as both of you agree and you're both consenting adults, there's really nothing that's bad or taboo. We hear about bad and taboo in society, but the truth is, there is no such thing as bad and taboo. Now, I want to be clear. Now, while there's no such thing as bad or taboo, there is such a thing as let's not hurt anybody. So, when you're talking with your partner about what it is you're interested in having while you're having sex, you kind of want to avoid unnecessarily hurting your partner physically. So, talking about boundaries is a good idea. For example, you may have seen spanking in porn and thought, I'd like to try that. And that's a great thing. And then you try it while you're having sex and realize, well, that turned you on watching. Not so much fun when you're getting spanked. So you want to have a safe word, or you want to be able to say, okay, stop. So just being safe is really important. Another element we really want to be aware of is what we call intimacy, and the importance of intimacy and the role that it plays not only in your sex life, but also in your relationship. So a study that I think is really interesting when it comes to this topic is years and years ago, they did a study on babies in orphanages, and they couldn't understand why these babies just weren't flourishing. They were getting fed, they were getting clothes, they were getting their meds, but they were still kind of turning over and dying. With the research, what they found is that what they were missing was human touch, namely skin-on-skin contact. And as a result of this study, everything has changed. For one, you don't really see orphanages anymore. And for two, what you do see when a woman gives birth is the first thing they do is the nurse puts the baby on the mom, and there's skin-on-skin contact, and that helps with the bond. So guess what? Just because you stop being a baby doesn't mean you stop being human. And you need human touch, even now, even as an adult. So it's really important to have that skin-on-skin contact with your partner. I tell my patients all the time, so how often do you engage in naked cuddling? And what I get is, naked cuddling? What's that? Well, what it is take your clothes off, get in the bed, and cuddle up, because it's good for you. You exchange a bonding hormone not just when you're having sex, but with skin-on-skin contact. And that's really important for the health of the relationship. Also, when you get older and traditional sex is no longer possible, in some cases, naked cuddling helps keep that going. Now, outside of naked cuddling, grab an ass cheek, rub a back. When you move past, give them a peck on the cheek, on the lips. Say something teasing. All of that helps to build a healthy relationship. Now let's talk about the negative impact of not having open, honest communication. Empty marriage, for one. You see this sometimes with people being married forever and ever, but there's just nothing there. They're there because of a sense of loyalty or because they've just been married for so long, but there's nothing there. And it's such a shame to have put all this time, all these years in your life, and you feel nothing, which means your needs are definitely not getting met. Divorce is another key thing that happens when there isn't enough communication. People get fed up and they give up on their marriage and they get a divorce. Unfortunately, they tend to repeat the same mistake with the next partner, because if you haven't communicated well with partner number one, chances are you're not going to communicate well with partner number two. So it's very important to communicate no matter how awkward it feels. Myself, I had the same similar experience. So I'm happily married, but there was some things that I wasn't really communicating with my husband because I was embarrassed, or I thought it really wasn't important. And finally, when I did, with some blushes and some awkwardness, he looked at me and said, "Oh, really? Yeah, no problem." And things improved quite a bit after that. So I highly recommend communicating even if it is awkward for you. And finally, cheating. Unfortunately, I do see cases of cheating in my practice, and it's often not because of what you think. It's not because the person isn't feeling satisfied in the bedroom, although that does happen to be the case sometimes. But often it's because the person isn't communicating what they need, and instead of talking to their partner, they seek it somewhere else. So I always tell those folks, whatever caused you to cheat the first time, you better figure out what it is and figure out a way to communicate with your partner if you want to maintain your marriage. Well, that's all I have for today. If you liked today's video, please subscribe or hit like, and I look forward to see you next time. Bye.